Welcome back to Ty and That Guy. I'm Franck, and this is my good pal Wes Chatham.
Did you do that because I just called you a cougar? Was that your cougar voice?
Welcome, guys. This is... What are we talking about today, Ty?
We're talking about Abaddon's Gate.
Abaddon's Gate, Season 3, the Season 3 finale. Ty, you might need to carry me along a little more than usual. I haven't been getting much sleep. One of my baby boys is sick, and he threw up on me in the middle of the night last night. So, and it's about third night in a row. So I'm a little out of it, you know. So just do what you normally do. Just carry me along through the episode.
Yeah, it'll be me carrying you. It'll be a big switch.
So we got some updates in the Ty and That Guy family. Our buddy and producer extraordinary, Clinty Trucks, has a new addition to the Ty and That Guy family. He had a baby, and it's healthy, and everything is great, and it's wonderful. Oh, look at the baby! Yep.
The hospital's full of them. You can just go in and grab one.
Oh, really? That's not even yours. You're like, I don't have time to find mine. I'll just grab the closest one to me.
If you can get out of the
they're all
parking
pretty
lot,
much
it's
the
yours.
same.
That's the law.
So, Clint, we exploited your baby while you were gone, and we started Patreon to say that we're going to, because you have a baby and you need to grow up when you pay you, but really we started it so we could have beer money and things to do for fun, and pizza and certain things like that. So... and I feel like it's not as bad if I tell you the truth, right, Ty? It's not, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Clint understands. Wes's fifth Lamborghini isn't going to buy itself.
Guys,
right?
I wouldn't be caught dead in the Lamborghini.
Exploiting the worker. Don't you worry. As soon as her little fingers are able to hold a needle, I'm going to be having a sweatshop out here.
Oh, I know some good ones. I know some good sweatshops. That's where my kids go. Let me know. We'll talk. All right, but I get 10% of that little cookie. All right.
All right, I'm going to put her back in her hyperbaric chamber to make her strong. Have fun, guys.
All right, buddy.
All right.
So today we're talking about Abaddon's Gate, and that is a Hebrew word. It means destruction and doom. It's used in the Bible as reference to a bottomless pit.
Or sometimes to the angel that guards that pit.
Well, now I'm confused. Is it not destruction and doom?
It is.
Oh.
But the way the Bible uses it, the way it's used in Revelation, it's not clear if it's talking about the pit itself or about the angel who guards the pit, or both of those things. So,
is this reference to the gate?
Yeah.
So is this an ominous reference, or is this an...
It's a very ominous reference.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Were you a Stargate guy?
I wasn't. Like, I've seen, of course, like I'm a human and I have eyeballs, so I've seen a couple episodes of Stargate. But for whatever reason, when it was like at its heyday, I don't think I was watching much TV then. Like, I'm sure I would have been in the audience if I'd been watching shows when it was like really at its peak.
What were you doing?
I don't know, probably masturbating.
For a whole decade? That thing was going for a decade.
Well, so
you have a masturbation blackout period of a whole decade. There are people that have like, hey, that was my drug period. I don't like Stephen King's drug period where he written like 3 books. He didn't know, but you have your masturbation period.
Yeah.
Were you writing at that time?
No. So there's this weird gap.
Yeah.
There's this weird gap in my TV where, so my wife and I stopped. We moved. We had cable in the house we lived in. Then we moved to a new house, and we just never got cable. Like, not because we were like, you know, what's the cord cut or whatever that is. Just we never got it. And we were doing other stuff. And there was this long stretch there. And then when like all the streaming services started up, like Netflix and that kind of stuff, we got those things. So we sort of got back to watching TV, but we watched it through streaming services. But there's this long gap where I didn't have cable and the streaming services hadn't really started up yet, where I just didn't watch any of the TV shows that happened during that period.
So how did you watch porn?
Well, you still had to buy it. You had, you know, like they had stores where you could get it on like discs and VHS tapes and stuff.
Oh, so you had a VHS? So this was in the 80s?
No, it was.
Did you just
this would have probably
VHS?
been. Well, yeah, I mean, everybody had VHS, right?
Well, what period was this?
Actually, the period when we didn't have TV was probably like the 90s.
Wait,
maybe most of them.
So you missed Beverly Hills 90210?
I've never seen an episode of Beverly Hills 90210.
Well, there goes my top 5. I was going to do the top 5 Beverly Hills 90210 episodes.
I've never seen a single episode of that show.
Son of a bitch.
Wes, you were the greatest interviewer since Barbara Walters. Your questions are, how did you watch porn and you've never seen 90210?
I'm what you call the East Coast intellectual. So, Abaddon's Gate. You know, I think what's interesting is watching this episode, it was the first time, or it was kind of clear to me that, because when Drummer was in the elevator shaft, I do remember in the books that Bull was in the elevator shaft, and what happened to Bull when he was in there, and then Bobby, I don't think was in this book, and her in the end, and then Ashford was a lot different in the books than this. So I would just take a moment to kind of talk about Drummer and her character. And did you use, because people kind of knew that she was taking on Bull qualities and that kind of character, and did you know that everybody was going to think she was going to die in that shaft?
That was very deliberate.
Uh-huh.
Because we set up the same exact circumstances where Bull dies with Drummer. And yeah, we knew people were going to assume she was the sacrifice.
Right. And I'm trying to remember, tell me a little bit about Ashford's book character and then how they're different. Because Ashford was a little bit younger and a lot more ruthless, right?
So the Ashford in the book is not even really a character. He's more of a foil. You know, he's never a point of view. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that people, when they go from the show to the books, sometimes it throws them, is when we write our books, we write in a very tight third person, which means that if a character isn't a point of view character, you never really get any access to their thoughts or what their intentions are. And because Ashford is only ever seen through the eyes of other characters, in that case, why I'm forgetting my own characters' names.
Drinking game. So Clint, since you were away, they had this. They created this tie. Well, one of the 8 created a tying that guy drinking game, and so every time Ty says he can't remember a name, or when I say cold-blooded, or he takes a sip, or we make fun of you, people have to drink. So
I don't have my jar of water here, so
shit.
People are going to be way less drunk today.
If I do it, does that count? Yeah, let's get people fucked up. If you don't have a water to drink out of, just make fun of Clint, because I think you have to drink when you make fun of Clint.
People are going to get hurt. We need to slow down.
The character of Michio Pa is a viewpoint character in the later books, and we see her around Ashford some in the book. But we never really dive into who Ashford is or why he's doing the things that he's doing. We see him through Bull almost entirely. It's from Bull's perspective, and Bull has a very specific view of what Ashford is. Mm-hmm. And so our view of Ashford is colored by Bull's view of Ashford. Bull is an earther. He's pretty racist against Belters. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest, he is. Mm-hmm. He has a very racist view of the way Belters self-govern. Mm-hmm. And so he sees Ashford as an idiot. He thinks Ashford's an idiot. And so every time we see Ashford, we see him through the eyes of somebody who thinks he's an idiot. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, that colors the reader's perception of who and what Ashford is. Mm-hmm. Ashford is very ruthless, no doubt. And he is, he's definitely got that old pirate thing. But we also, he winds up, when the slowdown happens in the book, Ashford hits his head. And his behavior changes radically after that moment. Now, because Bull doesn't know about that, because Bull, we never talk about that in Bull's POV, and Bull's the one who's seeing Ashford, the audience doesn't really get a really obvious flashing neon sign saying Ashford is suffering from severe head trauma and his behavior has changed radically following that head trauma. So maybe it's a bit subtle there, but there are reasons why Ashford is doing the things that he's doing in the books. Now, in the show, of course, Ashford is a point of view character. We definitely get a very close view of him through Drummer and from his own perspective. So we get a much better view of him. So he winds up being a much more sympathetic character because of that.
And you have in the show on the ship, it's kind of like Fred Johnson's lieutenant and Anderson Dawes' lieutenant. And, kind of living out that story on the ship.
Yep.
And what was the decision about Draper keeping her in? Because she wasn't in the books, right?
No, she's not in the book.
Is there a way where you can, it's more interesting to carry a plot point with a character that we already know and that we kind of are connected to?
Now we're talking about the mechanics of making a TV show. Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here for, Ty. That's
so
our job.
for the four of you, the half of our audience that gives a shit about how TV shows are made, the four of you are going to find this fascinating. Everybody else is going to tune out and cancel their subscription to our podcast. But
please
the mechanics of making a TV show,
we got a baby to feed. Go ahead.
That's true. Clint's baby will starve, and that'll be your fault.
Clint, your baby is the mascot of tying that guy. Can we say your baby's name, or is that a secret?
I mean, I don't care. Louise. Lulu.
Lulu is the tying that guy mascot.
So Lulu will starve to death if you guys stop subscribing to tying that guy. So just be aware of that when you click that unsubscribe button. Just be aware of you're killing a small child.
Lulu, Clint, when Lulu's, make sure Lulu looks good and hungry the next time you show her. Okay. All right.
She is underweight.
See, there you go.
Oh, actually, I feel bad about that. I take all of that back if she's really underweight. Okay, go ahead.
We're dropping the massive guilt trip.
Oh, no, it's intentional. Okay. We're not feeding her.
Well, they have no money. We don't pay them. So for the four of you who give a shit about this, there is a thing in TV when you have an actor on your show where if they're not what you call core cast, if they're not a series regular, if you want them to stay on the show when you're not actually filming them, you have to do what's called a hold. So holds cost money. So if we say, oh, Frankie, you're not going to be in season 3 at all, but we really want you to come back for season 4, her agents will say, okay, but you have to pay us a bunch of money to hold her for season 4, even though she's not in season 3, which is totally fair because you can't, actors, this is their job. They have to make a living at this. If you want to hold somebody, but you're not going to use them, of course you have to pay them for that. Otherwise, how are they going to live, right? So it's a totally fair thing for the agent to ask for. But from a economics perspective on the show running side, why would you pay an actor to work when they're not working? It just doesn't make any sense. So if we're going to have to pay Frankie to hold her, or we could pay her to actually come and shoot the show, it just makes more sense to pay her to come and shoot the show. So we said, rather than pay to hold Frankie for a bunch of episodes we're not going to use her, let's just go ahead and have her come and do stuff. And so we wrote her into the parts of season 3 she wouldn't have been in. And it just makes economic sense that way. So that's the the sort of finance side of making a TV show.
So I had the reverse struggle because you guys wanted to get rid of me, but I was a main character on the show, and that you're going to have to pay me. So then it was like you were stuck with me. So that's that's an important lesson. If you're starting a show and it might go how long that the Expanse went or how long some of these shows goes, you got to make sure they're not an asshole. You got to make sure you know that before you give somebody the main character because you're stuck with them. And then they make you do podcasts and shit with them.
Well, I mean, if you fire an actor that has a contract, you have to pay out their contract. So, like, if you have a 3-year contract on the show and in the middle of season 1, we're like, fuck this guy, we hate him, and we fire him, we got to pay him for 3 seasons. So, yeah, it's a good thing to have a contract.
So they send Bobby and her crew to where Anna is broadcasting. And they realized that the suits were stolen. And Diogo and his goons stole the suits. Now, don't they seem a little bit advanced in these suits? Like they're hauling ass and shooting and knowing how to switch weapons and
no, they don't know how to do any of those things. We actually show a scene where Diogo tries to use the gun. It pops up a thing and says that he's not authorized to use the gun and it will not arm it.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he didn't know how to use it. He knew how to point the gun and pull the trigger. It was just saying that you're not the person, you're not the owner, so you're not going to be able to do that. But
do you not know how to point a gun and pull the trigger, even if you've never used that gun?
No, but that's the computer shit. That's like Iron Man face mask that you got to go through and choose the right weapon and push because there's all kinds of weapons to use. But it was hauling ass and running through the thing. And so if there's no learning curve with those suits, and then when they shut the door and it's fucking beating up the door and ripping the door and then it was flying up the shaft. I mean, he had some suit skills. And where did those come from? Are they that easy to use?
The things he does in that power armor suit are the same exact things you can do in any spacesuit in our show.
Yeah.
And he's lived his entire life in space. He's very comfortable in a spacesuit. Right? Whenever he tries to do any of the advanced features, like actually use a weapon, the suit won't let him do that because he's not authorized. But they're able to get into the low level stuff, which is just use it like a spacesuit. Now, the thing with the power armor is if you move, the suit is designed that it augments your movement, right? That's what it does. So yeah, he can run fast in it and he's strong, but he can't do any of the advanced stuff. Like the suit just won't let him do any of those things. And the other thing is part of how we're showing that he's clumsy in the suit is if Bobby had dropped down into that control room, we're talking about later in the episode when they're in the control room. But if Bobby had dropped down into that control room in that suit with her skill level, no one would have lived. No one gets out of that room alive. He drops down in there and all he does is kind of knock the drummer across the room and fail at everything else he's trying to do. He's very clumsy in it.
Right. If you had access to that suit, what would be the first thing you would do?
Like if I had full access to it?
Like you stumbled upon the suit and it was yours and you had full access, what would be the first thing you'd do? Why you
I guarantee nobody would ever cut in line in front of me again.
Yeah, but that's only if you're standing in line with the suit.
Well, I would just wear it all the time.
Because it's like somebody will cut in line, you'd be like, hold on a minute. And you go I'd be like, come up the truck. But I saw this, I was on Discovery or something. It was years ago. I saw the special once, and this guy was trying to create a suit to withstand a bear attack. So he can take that knowledge of the bear attack and I thought that was the coolest thing. Like it was like the suit so he could go and it could go. And if I had that suit, I would fight a fucking bear because...
Why? What'd the bear do to you, man?
I mean, I wouldn't hurt it. I would just show it that I was dominant. Like I would like pin it. But the bear's been kicking everybody's ass in North America for so long. A bear needs to get his ass kicked so it can feel what it's like. Them fucking grizzly bears need some humility, all right? You ever been up to Kodiak Island? You ever been up to Alaska?
I have not. But my brother-in-law used to work up there, so he has been up there, and he knows.
And I would bring the lessons that
thank you, honey. My wife just brought me a jar of water.
She's never came and said hello.
No.
Janae, come say hello. Did she hear me?
She already left.
Oh.
She already left.
All right, well.
But she brought me a jar of water, so now I can really get people fucked up.
Get people drunk. She should come.
Oh, and the reason that it's this, like, not watercolor is because she puts a little splash of grapefruit juice and a little splash of lime juice in it.
That's love. That's a sweetheart.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you're concerned about your image, about people thinking that you're drinking the whole time because you're drinking alcohol the whole time on the show.
No, I'm not concerned about that at all.
Okay.
If I'm actually drinking alcohol, I'm totally going to tell you I'm drinking alcohol.
Because you made it a point last episode, like, it's not alcohol, it's water. I'm not drinking alcohol. And I'm like, all right.
Well, I just want people to know that I take what I'm doing with you seriously. I'm not just being drunk all the time. Me supporting you in your effort to be a famous podcaster is important to me.
Well,
this is not for the people. This is for you, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, the rate we're going, maybe our podcast would be successful in 30 years, 40 years down the road. And
you need to start taking that HGH like Joe Rogan does, so you'd still look good 30 years from now.
Joe Rogan take HGH?
Hasn't he been very public about that?
Oh, you're right. He has.
He's been super public about the fact that he takes HGH and other things so that he maintains his physique as he ages.
But you know what I read? The thing about HGH is if you have cancer or like a tumor or whatever, it accelerates the growth of that thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're not very careful with that sort of thing, it will fuck you up.
That's some scary shit. Let's not get on that. I want to go back to the bear. So if I get in a fight with a bear with that suit, what I would do is use techniques that I would learn techniques of how to handle yourself.
So you're going to be in a full mount rear naked choke on a bear.
No, but I also would use, and then I would do that first to get that out of my system, and then I would come across bears and let them attack me, and then I would learn how to, if somebody got attacked without a suit, how they could survive. Like
nobody survives without a suit.
Learn. Alrighty, so Bobby and her crew, they get to where Anna's broadcasting. By the way, Anna does a great job as always with her speech and broadcasting. But doesn't she have the easier sell? Because she's saying, look, he wants to destroy this laser. We're sealed in here, and we're all going to fucking die. If we shut down, there's a chance that we could all live and not be sealed in it forever. Like, I'm with her. I'm with Anna.
And by the way, that argument works.
Yeah, it does. Except for fucking Ashford. Ashford is dead set on this happening. So So Bobby shows up, crew shows up. They get in a gun battle with Amos and Alex. Alex realizes that it's Bobby. Bobby realizes Alex. Alex walks over and you know, they have a conversation. Bobby realizes she was in that room with Holden. She knows Holden. She was in the room with Holden. She knew something crazy happened to him. So she kind of starts to lean towards Alex. And that time her partners start attacking. And then she flips some scripts and she kills those guys.
No, she doesn't. She knocks one of them out and Amos kills the other one.
No. She draws her gun and shoots the girl on the ground.
No, she doesn't. She kicks her in the face. The girl on the ground shoots her.
Wait,
she throws the girl to the ground.
Do you think you know more about The Expanse than I do?
Yeah, I do. I actually blocked that fight with the stunt coordinator and Frankie. I know exactly what happens in that fight. She throws the girl to the ground. The girl pulls out her gun. Frankie kicks her in the face as the girl is shooting. That's why Bobby is shot and the girl gets knocked out.
So I thought that she kicked her, she falls up in the wall, she's sliding down, and as she's kicking her, she pulls out her gun and shoots like a little Western.
No, the girl
style.
shot her.
Yeah.
No, the girl shot her. She didn't shoot the girl.
Me arguing with you is kind of like, did you ever see that talk show when one of the Star Wars fans was arguing with George Lucas about one of his characters? Well, I was going to give you shit because I don't think Bobby would have killed her fellow Marine. But
and Bobby did not kill her fellow Marine. Bobby
I know. I'm just checking.
Kicked her fellow Marine in the face.
I'm just checking to see if we're on the same episode.
And in fact, if you listen,
in the book, she killed a Marine.
She did not.
In the book that she's not in, she killed a Marine. Right, Clint? Back me up on this.
Don't back him up on this, Clint. If you listen carefully, when she kicks the girl in the face and Alex throws the other Marine off of him, Amos is drawing down on that other Marine. You hear Bobby yell, "Don't shoot."
Oh.
Just before Amos fires. She's trying to keep both of those people alive. She's trying to keep both of those Marines alive.
Right.
Amos, of course, doesn't fuck around. He didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Amos just drops him.
Yeah. Now, I was cooking food while I was watching it, so maybe I missed that. But
yeah.
But part of me was like, geez, Bobby Draper, like, you switch sides pretty
no,
quickly.
she tries very hard to keep both of her fellow Marines alive in that engagement.
Well, what I saw in my imagination would have been a cool move because she was kicking as she's falling backwards and doing a low draw with her gun and shooting her comrade in the head. So Diogo expertly is chasing in his suit, expertly chasing up the elevator shaft.
Yes.
Drummer, Holden, and Naomi. But can we take a slight special pause, a pause of honor to really talk about the best elevator shaft movie scene in movie history?
Well, so are we talking about the elevator shaft where a corpse is sent down in the elevator with a T-shirt on that says, "Now I have a machine gun, ho, ho, ho"?
You goddamn right. That's what I love about you, Ty Franck, is you're so well read, you're so cultured, and you're just a man of art. And
I like to think of myself as a Renaissance man.
I think of you as a Renaissance man. But
thank you.
I was thinking about this today because I love elevator shafts in movies, and I was trying to remember the first elevator shaft scene in a movie that really got my attention. Obviously, it's Die Hard, and there's so many movies after Die Hard. But do you remember any great elevator shaft scenes before Die Hard? Maybe
sure.
The Towering Inferno with Paul Newman and Steve McQueen.
Yeah, I mean, Towering Inferno has some elevator stuff. Elevator shafts are just interesting places to have things happen.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it got used a lot before Die Hard.
So,
I mean, like everything else, Die Hard just did it better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like shafts, what you're saying.
Oh, I do like a good shaft.
All right.
Yeah.
And then, so Drummer, which we discussed earlier, is set up perfectly. And this fooled me. I didn't know she was going to live in this. Not this episode, obviously, but back when I first, was watching this, because at the time, from my perspective, what I remember is that you brought on Cara G, who's super talented and has created this fascinating character and one of probably my favorite character of the show. And she's done a great job, but every season you were kind of growing her and giving her different roles, and she was kind of, taking on more and more, but it wasn't really fully defined, what it was going to be, because it was you guys were kind of working with her in the moment of creating this thing. And so the elevator shaft thing was a real moment where I was like, are you going to fucking kill Drummer? And you guys did, and I thought it was great. And also, there was a point of levity in that scene, a little bit of humor. Like, when the elevator, like, Diogo was coming up and when it took him out, I really enjoyed that. I like a nice little bit of levity right before, because it coincides really good with your release,
It's, that's what it is that moment. You have that moment of tension, the moment of release, and then that's when you're allowed to be a little light. Have people make jokes, and I love Drummer.
It kind of harkens back to your masturbation period that you were talking about earlier.
I always, right after I finish, I tell a joke every time.
Picasso had his blue period, and you had your masturbation period.
Yep, and my wife hates it because I tell a joke afterwards every time. She's like, "Come on, do we really need to finish with a joke?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is the right time for it." Moment of levity. But my favorite bit in there is one you haven't mentioned, which is after the elevator smashes Diogo, is Drummer saying, "Now I see why you don't have to carry a gun."
Yeah.
I really like that moment because, of course,
I didn't like that moment. That's why I didn't talk about it. Anyway, go ahead.
Well.
No, I'm kidding. I do like the moment. Yeah, okay.
One of the things that's been consistent with Naomi's character is that she is very resistant to the idea of violence and shooting people and attacking people. And she really has to be driven to an extreme to do that. The sequence.
Has she shot anybody in the show?
Never. Nope.
Have you seen the poster of season 3?
I have.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's holding a gun in that one, and it's like Naomi's whole thing is she doesn't carry guns. She doesn't like guns. She doesn't want any part of guns, and she's so goddamn smart. She doesn't need to have guns.
That's right. They're also all in spacesuits and not wearing gloves for some reason. Well, it's the weirdest fucking thing.
It was a warm day out in space, and sometimes you don't need your space mittens, Ty. That's a little insight to the 4 fans that we didn't lose that think show making's interesting is sometimes the marketing department or whatever, it's not like the creators of the show or the creatives in the show are making the posters.
That's right.
And doing things like that. We
are allowed to give feedback, which the network can then ignore. Mm-hmm. So they'll send us the images and they'll go, "What do you think? We really love this for our campaign," and they'll send you an image. And I'm not bashing anyone in particular here. This is a general comment. But they'll send you something and you'll go, "Well, we don't think this is right because it's got this and this and this." And they go, "Well, but we're using it anyway." So, I mean, like, it's pretty meaningless feedback.
But I will say, I think Amazon is extremely savvy in their press and how they do the show. They understand the fans, they understand the show, and everything is creative and unique and amplified, is a bigger part of the creative expression. And I think a big part of, like, the success that we have now, and think about how massive this podcast is. But when I think about the success we have now, a lot of it is because of it was, a great marketing team behind The Expanse.
And I would say that one of the differences going
mediocre,
from the writing is pretty bad every season, but I mean, and even if it was great writing, the mediocre performances are not going to save it. But one of the things going from the previous network to Amazon that was different, and I'm not bashing the previous network at all, I'm just talking about things that are different now, is there is much more of a personal connection between the creative team on The Expanse and the marketing and PR team at Amazon. Like, I actually the head of our marketing group, I actually have her phone number on my phone. If I call her, we can have a conversation about stuff. I never knew anybody in the sci-fi marketing group. We never talked to those people. We had no connection at all. So it's a very different sort of workflow, a very different process with Amazon, where they will actually talk to us directly about these things rather than going through intermediaries. It creates a different sort of marketing vibe, I think.
So now Holden and Naomi have made it to the bridge, and Holden is trying to talk some sense into Ashford, but Ashford is hell-bent on destroying this ring gate, and Holden gives up his arms, as honorable and as just as Holden is, and he says, "Listen, I'm not armed. Please listen to me. My dead friend Miller told me this is the way it goes, and I'm right." And Ashford goes, "Shoot these motherfuckers." And then out of the corner Melba, also known as Clarissa, or maybe Clarissa, also known as Melba, completes her transition and the end of this redemption arc, and she bites the little trigger in her jaw, and it fills her with adrenaline, and she rockets and she shoulder checks Ashford, and she pulls, and I love that this massive behemoth spaceship, all you need is a plug. You just pull that one plug and it shuts the whole fucking thing down.
We foreshadowed that multiple episodes ago when Clarissa is being trained on how to set up those buffers. The person who is training her on it says if you reverse these, it can cause a cascade and all of the buffers will shut down. And they talk about why it's designed that way. So that's set up early on. But the other thing that's true is we have set up that the behemoth is a giant piece of shit. Like, they can't even fire one missile without blowing the entire power grid on this thing.
True.
So they're in the process of massively rewiring it in a way that it was not supposed to be wired. They're trying to run a huge amount of power through wires that were not designed to take it to this laser. A lot of stuff has been kludged together at this point. She knows, if I cause the cascade in this one power junction, it might cascade the whole ship. Because she's been working on this kludgy rewiring of the system.
Now, is it a giant piece of shit because they took it before it was finished, or was Fred Johnson not doing a good job?
No, they took it before it was finished, and they added a bunch of stuff to it that it was never designed to have. Like, they added railguns and missile launchers to this thing. It was never designed to have those things. It's a colony ship. It's just not set up to do the things they're asking it to do. I mean, it would be sort of like, if you took the Queen Mary cruise ship and tried to mount 18-inch guns on it, like the Missouri had. It's just not designed for that. You fire those guns, they're just going to tear themselves right off the deck, right? That's what they have done with the Behemoth. Is they've mounted 18-inch guns on the Queen Mary. The first time you fire those guns, the whole mount is just going to tear itself off the ship.
So she unplugs the Behemoth. Power goes down. Space station. It's like, okay, you guys aren't a threat. They power down. Everything's safe. And then they open the ring.
Yep.
And there's a lot of those motherfuckers. And
1,373.
13. How do you know? 1,373 fucking new frontiers, new galaxies, new worlds. That's pretty exciting. And then Holden gets naked again, and then he goes back and has this inner vision, and he talks to Miller, and Miller needs a ride. And does Miller kind of give the impression that he kind of wants to know the answer too of what? Because now we have answers about the ring. We know about the race that created it and something killed it. And does does he kind of want to know what's going on?
He does. And in fact, that's a major plot point in season 4 is what is driving Miller to do the things that he's doing. Is very important in season 4. So, I mean, we'll get more into that. But yes, the answer to your question is yes. He is being driven to find the answers to those questions. What happened to the guys who set all of this up? Why are they gone?
Right.
He needs to know that. And in season 4, we'll dig into more why. And I have two things to say. One, none of those gates go to other galaxies. They all go to solar systems inside of our galaxy.
Oh.
So they're not going to other galaxies. And two, yes, I know the Missouri had 16-inch guns, not 18-inch guns. Just before some Navy nerd in the comments is like, Missouri didn't have 18-inch guns. Yes, I fucking know. I was just being hyperbolic there.
Yeah. So those gates are within this in our solar system?
No, all within our galaxy.
I'm sorry. Those gates are all within our galaxy.
Yes.
Okay.
Other solar systems inside of our galaxy.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting because I thought it was like wormholes where you go to other galaxies. You go to other. I don't know.
No,
I think I might be right on ours. I think I might be right on this. I don't know how they can do it. Well, what the fuck's the big deal? You're in the same galaxy. Who gives a shit about that?
Because it's really hard to get to other places inside of our galaxy. Do you know how big our galaxy is, Wes?
It's not that. I mean, look, it's like here's the thing. If I found a portal and I could go in and I was like, oh fuck, and this portal can take me anywhere I want to go, but the other sides of that portal were all within the United States, I'd be like, well, motherfucker. I would be hoping that I could go. I want to go to Rome.
Yeah. Okay. So The Milky Way is 53,000 light years across.
Right.
53,000. That means if you could travel at the speed of light, it would take you 53,000 years just to get across our galaxy. Yeah. That's a little different from getting to Rome.
But I'm using the scale of the United States, and I'm saying, I get you. All right, so using your analogy, okay.
If the galaxy was the size of the United States, that would mean that for you to just drive across town to get to the Safeway would take you like 1,000 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in our comedy team, I'm playing the foil, all right?
I know you are.
Okay. All right. So everybody listening, I know how big the goddamn galaxy is, all right? It's not like I think the galaxy is as big as Georgia. I know how big the galaxy is. All right. I don't want to hear comments about me not knowing about science.
Yeah. Okay. But did you know that the Missouri didn't have 18-inch guns?
I didn't. I have to admit, I didn't know that. When you said 18-inch guns, I thought it was 18-inch guns. So I'm ashamed of who I am right now. So I've just failed our people today. So for our top 5 list, I went through a series of thoughts. Would you like to hear them? So the first thing I thought about was we should do the top 5 series finales of all time. And now I know that wouldn't have worked because you didn't watch 90210. But then I started thinking that pretty soon we're going to be doing the actual finale. And that would be fitting to do the greatest series finales at all time when our show finale is here. So I decided not to do that. Then I realized, okay, Abaddon's Gate is the same name of the book, and season 3 is basically most of season 3 is basically an adaptation of that book. So then I thought about, okay, the greatest book to movie adaptations, with the exception of Stephen King, because for our Tying That Guy family, the Patreon people, we're going to do a special top 5 of Stephen King, and you guys are going to participate. We're working on it right now. It's all going to be fun. It's going to be great.
Now, hold on. Let's clarify. When we do our Stephen King top 5, it's not just going to be for the Patreons, but the people on the Patreon will get to contribute to setting the list up. Oh, but it'll be a public list.
Okay. I thought, aren't we doing special content for Patreon?
Yeah, but that one I think we should just do for the regular podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. But the people on the Patreon can help us pick the list and that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, as long as they pick the correct ones, they can be on the list. So then I was like, I wanted to do the best book to movie adaptations, and about 2 pages of just writing just from memory my favorite book adaptation. I was like, well, we got to limit it a little bit. So then I decided to limit it to the best sci-fi books to movie adaptations. And I have a pretty good pool here, but it feels incomplete. And please let us know if we left some things out, and I will mention them if they can make the top. If I forgot something here that can knock out something else of the top 5, then I will mention it the next podcast. Because like Dirty Dancing's dad in Dirty Dancing, when he says, "I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong." All right, so here.
Did you just call Jerry Orbach Dirty Dancing's dad?
Yeah. Baby's dad. Like Baby's dad says in Dirty Dancing, "When I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong."
You are so handsome and so dumb.
Wow, that was super mean, Clint.
Yeah.
Wes is very strong.
Oh, he's very strong.
Yeah, he's very strong.
You say I let you down, but you let me down. All right, here we go. I think we're going to edit that out, Clint, because that's a bit mean-spirited for this podcast. We don't go to that. We don't.
Yeah, you don't call people dumb on this podcast. Don't do that.
And so book.
I'm sorry, Wes. I love you.
Sci-fi book to movie adaptation: Jurassic Park, The Martian. I feel like I'm announcing like the Oscars. Minority Report, 2001: Space Odyssey. You know that's going to be on there. Children of Men, Blade Runner, The Iron Giant, Metropolis, The Hunger Games, War of the Worlds, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Solaris, Arrivals, From the Story of Your Life, Dune, Starship Troopers, The Girl with All the Gifts, The Thing, who goes there. Altered States, Ready Player One, Clint's favorite. He fucking was bugged the shit out of me to put this on there. Ready Player One, Clockwork Orange, Paprika, Annihilation, The Road.
I was gonna come at you for saying that I told you to put Ready Player One in there, and then you pronounced Annihilation so crazy, I got distracted.
Annihilation. Okay.
Well, and you could make an argument that almost everything. Shit, what's his name? Who did Jurassic Park?
Michael Crichton.
Michael Crichton. Yeah, you could make an argument that almost everything Michael Crichton did that wound up as a movie was a sci-fi book adaptation, because he's got, what's the one where with the time travel, time something, where a bunch of students go back in time to the medieval period. That's like a sci-fi adaptation.
Did you ever see, or did you ever read Eaters of the Dead, the Michael Crichton book?
Yeah. I was going to say Andromeda Strain is sci-fi. That was Michael Crichton. So Crichton did a lot of sci-fi books.
My favorite Michael Crichton book and my favorite adaptation of this book, which is not going to be popular on this crew, is Eaters of the Dead, and then
I like 13th Warrior.
And the 13th Warrior.
I really enjoyed 13th.
I thought that movie
I don't understand why it got so trashed.
I don't either. I thought that movie was so badass. I so love that movie, and I don't know why it got trashed. That wouldn't be considered sci-fi though. That'd be more fantasy.
No, that one's not sci-fi.
Yeah. But the book is great. It's basically like, as in the book, it's more about as we've evolved, there's still like human species. It wasn't like a direct evolution. Like there were still some Neanderthals around while regular humans were starting to flourish. And so there's still like these battles between prehistoric and modern humans. So, I think 2001 has got to be at the top of the list.
2001 is pretty great.
Or would you say Blade Runner would be better than that?
Well, so here, let me ask you some questions as we clarify.
Okay.
Is best mean it is a great book and there is also a great movie that's supposed to be based on that book? Or does the best mean the most accurate adaptation? Because I love Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I'm a huge Dick fan. And go ahead and clip that. I'm a huge Dick fan. And I love Blade Runner, but those two things are almost not at all alike.
Yeah.
The book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and the movie Blade Runner bear only the most passing resemblance to each other.
What about The Thing? I mean, that's not... here's what I think is, if the book sparks the idea, Clint, you're usually pretty strict about these lists, but the way I was looking at it is the movie, because it's the best adaptation of the book, right? So if the movie serves and even elevates that book, then to me that's a great adaptation.
Well, I think a lot of these though are, as I said, only like, I think Blade Runner is a great movie on its own. I think Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is a great book on its own. You could say that one inspired the other, but it's pretty tough to connect the two.
Yeah, I understand.
They're so different.
I understand what you're saying, because you could say best adaptation meaning the most accurate to the book, or you could say best adaptation where you just thought it was a great fucking movie that came from that book.
Right.
Because on this list, I could have a shitty book, but if it turned out to be a phenomenal movie, it would be on the list because it's a great adaptation.
Right.
So
and there are certainly some books that there is a movie that has the same name as that book, and that movie has nothing to do with the book. And does that mean it's a good adaptation, or does that just mean that some studio bought the rights to a book and some writer or director came along and made whatever they wanted to make,
right,
and called it the same thing?
I think that's super interesting, because in the case of like a Blade Runner, somebody had the rights to the Philip K. Dick book, but the person who wrote the bulk of the script that we know as Blade Runner was probably working from earlier scripts, not from the book. They weren't going back to source material.
Right. And so I think that changes the list for me, because so as a novelist, one of the things that is very common that you hear about all the time in adaptation is a network or a studio or whatever will buy the rights to something. And then they will tell the people making the adaptation of that, don't worry about including the book. Like, we bought the rights, the fans will come watch it. We don't have to. A network executive, and I'm not going to say who, but a network executive told Narain Shankar, our showrunner, when he first started working on The Expanse, don't worry about being too faithful to the books. Just do what you want to do. Don't worry about it. Now, to his credit, Narain said, no, these books are popular for a reason.
Wait, was that me?
You're not even the executive of your house, much less a network executive.
Well, listen, we could joke in a way where we don't have to hurt people's feelings.
Do you guys know the story of the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels?
I do know the At World's End.
On Stranger Tides.
That was actually,
I'm thinking of. Yeah.
On Stranger Tides. Yeah, On Stranger Tides was a book by that had nothing to do with Pirates of the Caribbean, and yeah,
after Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney just bought every pirate book, so no one else could adapt and make another pirate thing, and then just had the rights to all these books, and then threw the title of one of them on a movie that had nothing to do with it.
So then, how do we make this list more specific?
So for me, I think that if I was doing this list, it would be what book to film adaptations that tried to at least honor the spirit and themes of the book turned out to be good adaptations. I think 2001 definitely is on that list.
Okay.
Because, Kubrick worked directly with Clark in developing the movie. The two of them had a really good partnership. And I think the spirit of Clark's work is in the movie that was made.
Would you say that Blade Runner is a bit too far from the book?
I think Blade Runner has nothing to do with the exception of some of the characters have the same names.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the book.
Right. Well, this is interesting. What about? Well, neither of us have seen the new Dune.
I've seen Dune.
Oh, because I was using the David Lynch, but what did you think about the new Dune? Even though I haven't seen it.
I think it is beautiful to look at.
Oh no.
I think it's beautiful, but it feels more like an adaptation of Lynch's Dune than it does of the book. It does not feel like an adaptation of the book. It feels like an adaptation of Lynch's Dune.
Well, how would you say book adaptation for Lynch's Dune with Dune?
Almost not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities. I mean, there's a lot
but there's some really weird random stuff that's changed for no reason.
Yeah.
It winds up being this completely other thing.
But like
now, the stuff that is on your list that I think is very good is obviously Arrival.
Arrival, for sure.
Is an excellent adaptation of Ted Chiang's incredible novella. I actually think Annihilation, even though it is different in some pretty key ways from the book, Jonathan Strahan's book, I think the spirit of that book is in that movie. Did you like the movie? Intention of the book? I like a lot of that movie. Yeah, it's not a perfect movie to me, but there's a lot about it I do like. So, and Jonathan Strahan's book is there's a reason why it like blew up. I mean, that book was very successful for a good reason. He's a good writer.
So I have not read Who Goes There, but I heard John Carpenter's adaptation, The Thing, was way closer to the book than the original adaptation was. But I don't know if it's enough to clarify for the list. Okay.
No, it was. And the thing with Who Goes There is that you have mind-reading, shape-shifting aliens. That's the core idea of Who Goes There. So how would you ever know if the person you're talking to is the real person when these aliens can read your mind and shapeshift and look like the person and know everything that person knows? That's the core idea. Carpenter's version at least included the idea that this was a shape-shifting alien and could replace members of the group, and how would you know that they had been replaced? That at least includes that idea.
Yeah.
Whereas the Howard Hawks version of The Thing, that's just completely gone.
Right.
It's just he's a giant blood-drinking carrot, and that's it. That's the whole bad guy.
Right. Would you put it on the list?
The Thing?
Yeah.
Carpenter's The Thing is one of my favorite movies of all time.
No, I know,
put it on every list.
But in terms of your adaptation,
no, it has very little to do with Who Goes There, other than the idea of mind reading, shape shifting aliens. Yeah. That's pretty much the only idea.
I just feel like if The Thing is in the pool, I always want that on the list because that's one.
Me too.
I love that movie. We should do a special just on The Thing, kind of like what we did with the with Alien and Thomas Jane. We should do The Thing with one of our friends, close friends that loves it as much as we do.
Who's super into The Thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a sci-fi movie all the way. It's more horror than it is sci-fi, but Jaws is a good book to movie adaptation.
It is, and I've read that book, and obviously it's one of the great summer blockbuster movies of all time. The interesting thing about Jaws, now obviously it's not sci-fi, but the interesting thing about Jaws is the adaptation is very smart in that Benchley's book includes a bunch of B plots that would have just slowed the movie down.
Yeah.
And the whoever wrote that script, that adaptation, just cut all those B plots.
Yeah.
Like there's a B plot where the police chief's wife is having an affair and that's like going on in the back. Like all of that stuff, he just cuts all of that out.
Right.
And just strips it down to the core story of here's a beach town, summer's coming, a shark attacks. What are we going to do about the shark? Yeah. Right. That's the only thing that he adapts. But that part of the book is very well adapted. I think it's a smart adaptation, because the thing with having adapted my own work, the thing you always have to do is make decisions about what to keep and what to cut. And I'm very impressed by people who make smart decisions about that. And I think Jaws is a really, really good adaptation.
Did you read the book? I think it's called the Jaws Files, whatever, but it's a book about the making of Jaws.
I have not read that.
It's such a good book. And then they did a documentary on it and everything. Jaws is one of those movies. It's one of the greatest movies ever made, but it's also the behind the scenes was so interesting as well. And there's a lot of, because they were in that little town for so long, like there's like a lot of marriages and babies and divorces and stuff where the movie crew with this town. And I think there was a script, a Blacklist script, where it was about the making of Jaws and basically all the behind the scenes stuff of making the Jaws, of the making of Jaws. That was like,
that would be an interesting movie.
Yeah. Okay, so I have 2001, Arrival, Annihilation. Should Metropolis be there? I didn't read the book, but I did see the movie, so I guess we can't accurately. Were you a like Solaris fan?
I actually think yes, I am a Solaris fan, and weirdly, I'm a fan of both, because there's like this weird thing in fandom where you have to love one and hate the other one. I actually kind of like them both. I know the Russian Solaris is incredibly slow. Like, it's so weird that the Russian Solaris makes the George Clooney Solaris look action-packed.
Really?
It's so slow.
Uh-huh.
But I also think there's a kind of this beautiful meditation to the original Russian Solaris. And I like the Clooney Solaris. I like it's very slow. It's very deliberately paced. It's very slow moving, but it also kind of, if you relax and let yourself get sucked into it, there's like some really interesting stuff happening in that movie. So I like both of those. I have not read the original novel though, by what's his name?
He's also
Stanislaw Lem.
Yeah, Drink. Stanislaw Lem. Thank you. Now did he also write Stalker? He wrote Stalker too, right?
I believe he did. I'll check.
Yeah, but anyway, I have not read that book, so I can't comment on how accurate the adaptation is.
Did you ever see the George Segal Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Yeah, I've seen all of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like every iteration of it.
Did you read the book?
I did, but I read it so long ago that my memories of it are very dim.
No, I'm sorry. I think it's Don
Stanislaw Lem
Siegel.
did not write Stalker.
Okay,
although it is based on a book by the guys who wrote the screenplay.
Because the Donald Sutherland one, I think is my favorite one.
It's my favorite too, and it's mostly my favorite because of the cast. It's just a fantastic cast.
And that was Don Siegel, wasn't it? Wasn't that Don Siegel that did that? Or did he do the Invasion of the Body Snatchers before that? The movie before that?
I don't remember.
No, it was Philip Kaufman. I really enjoyed The Road. Well, I didn't enjoy it. It was a depressing book, but
that's actually quite a good adaptation too.
Yeah,
and I have read the Cormac McCarthy novel that it's based on.
Cormac has had some great adaptations, because I think No Country for Old Men is one of the best book to movie adaptations I've ever seen.
It's pretty great.
Yeah,
yeah. It's a great book and a great movie. And The Road, they added a few things to the movie to sort of flesh a couple of things out, because the book is so minimalist.
Yeah.
It's so minimalist. The few things they add to sort of flesh the story out a little bit for the movie don't bother me. I think they have a positive effect on the story rather than a negative effect.
Did you read Minority Report?
Yes, I love Dick, so of course I've read it.
So what do we put for number 4 and number 5? Did you see Altered States?
I have seen Altered States, but I've never read that book.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't include. Fuck! Wow, my memory for names is so bad right now. You didn't include Total Recall.
I didn't know that was a book.
It's a Dick book, yeah, or Dick story. It's not a book.
Is it a short story?
Yeah, it's a story called "We Can Remember That for You" wholesale.
And is it accurate to the movie?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But the core idea of you can purchase memories that you didn't actually have is the center of that story.
Now, you told me to watch Iron Giant. I did with my kids, and I loved it. I didn't read the book, so I don't know in terms of the adaptation, but I really loved the movie.
Yeah, did your kids like it too?
Oh, they loved it. They loved it. It was a great movie.
I knew they would. It's such a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, was everybody bawling like a baby at the end?
Yeah, the kids were they got a little misty. Children of Men, that's a great movie.
It is a great movie, but it has almost nothing to do with the book it's based on.
Well, Jesus Christ, this is a hard list, Ty.
It is. It's a tough one.
Well, I mean, look, I wouldn't put The Road on this list in terms of movies, but maybe if we're looking at straight adaptation, I think that's a pretty good adaptation.
I think it's a very successful adaptation. Yeah, you took a book that was going to be difficult to adapt, and you wrote a screenplay that honored the original book, that honored the themes of that book, and found a way to also be a good movie. Now, a lot of people don't like that movie. I actually do like that movie, but
were you a Starship Troopers fan?
I am a huge fan of the book.
Uh-huh.
In spite of its themes of fascism,
mm-hmm.
I love that book. I think if the movie Starship Troopers had any other name, I would have liked it. But as an adaptation of that book, I fucking hate it. I think it's great on its own. I think it's its own thing, and it should have just been its own thing.
Is it different than the book?
Oh my God, it has almost nothing to do with the book. Now, here's the interesting thing about it, is the movie is a commentary on the fascism of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a
spoof.
What's the word? It's almost like a spoof of the book.
Yeah, I got that. What about The Martian, the Peter Weir Martian?
I think that's a great movie and a great book, and I would put that on my list in my top 5.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not Peter Weir, it's Andy Weir.
Andy Weir, sorry.
Yeah. Andy's book is great, and I really feel like the movie, while the movie does change some things, mostly to streamline and streamline the amount of time and stuff, I think it's a great movie. It's one of my favorite sci-fi movies of that year. It was really well done. So I would put that on my list for sure.
So 2001, Arrival, The Road, The Martian, Annihilation.
Yeah, that's a pretty good list of sci-fi adaptations.
All right, guys. I know you. All right, 8. You big, sexy, strong 8. I know that we probably left out some ones that's going to embarrass me, and it's for sure going to embarrass Ty. And please let us know. And if it makes the top 5, we will include them with an apology from Clint. Thank you guys.
Clint will apologize
with his baby, Lulu. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. This was a great time. I hope we did enough to make you drunk. Or maybe we should do it now. Take a sip. Take a sip.
All right. Last sip.
Yep. And then cold-blooded. And Clint, go fuck yourself.
You know what we forgot to do today? We forgot to call him the list Nazi.
Rude.
Oh, sorry. She doesn't know English.
True.
So, yeah, we did forgot to call him that. Look, thank you guys for hanging out. And thank you for your support. This has been great, and this is fun. And we're going to create and think about things to include and engage this community and have things that we can share and just have fun in this world of fandom.
Yeah. And I want to say one thing. So they launched the Patreon, which is great. Thank you guys for your support. Really appreciate that. Joseph more than anyone appreciates that, because maybe we'll actually be able to start paying him. One thing I want to make really clear is we have no desire to cut fans who are not on the Patreon out of what we do here. the podcast is going to stay the podcast. This YouTube stuff is going to stay the YouTube stuff. There might be a little extra stuff for the people who are generous enough to do the Patreon. But the main thrust of what we do is still going to be this, and it's always going to be free and available. So I don't want people to think that suddenly we're switching to a subscription model or something. That's not what's happening. This is just giving people an opportunity who want to give us a little extra support. If they want to do that, we're going to toss them few little extra goodies in a thank you for that. But mostly what this is for is so we can do things like pay Joseph for his time, and So anyway, just something I wanted to make sure everybody knew that this piece of what we do is always going to be free.
Real quick, that was a lot of fun having you guys pick out the shirt, and I can't wait. We're going to make that shirt, and it's going to be fun. And then I think that going forward, because we really enjoyed it, we'll start having different versions or images or whatever, and then we get to have fun like picking and voting on shirts. So we'll get to do that,
and we'll do more of that kind of stuff too. So anyway, yeah, this was a good time. Thank you for all your support, and if you like what we do, like and subscribe and whatever else, you press the buttons. There's YouTube buttons and there's probably Apple buttons for iTunes. I don't know, but do all of those things. And thanks for coming to hang out. Say goodbye, Ty.
Goodbye, Ty.